Hello traders and welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 118. It's Iliya here, and as always I'm super grateful to have you on my channel. And as you probably know, in this video we're gonna have a look at the market, how it developed this week, what opportunities did we have, and what we can potentially expect for the upcoming week. So it's actually the final week of September. Usually the final weeks we have some interesting price action. We're getting into the next month, and also next month we're having Q4 opening. So I'm really excited about this because usually price starts to move around Q4. It's one of the most volatile quarters. We're having like 3 amazing months to trade. So make sure that you spend this last week preparing, reviewing, reflecting, setting goals for the upcoming quarter, and really getting ready because we are about to jump into some amazing price. For me, a little review for me, I have a losing week. I'm down around 1.5% this week, which is absolutely perfectly fine. And I learned a lot from this. I spotted some little flaws in my trading that are namely lack of focus and persistence as well. So for example, when I take a trade and either a loss or a break even, then I do not persist to maybe look for a re-entry. I just like stand up from the charts and go do something else. And then you just see all the other opportunities develop and you're missing out. And actually, I'm going to spend a little time on that. On EU, so probably you can extract a lot from that to learn from my mistakes, because this is like the aim of this channel. I just share from my mistakes, my learnings as well, so I can transfer them to you as well, right? And if you appreciate that and if you're excited for all the content that is about to come, make sure to hit the subscribe button, also the notification bell, in order not to miss the upcoming updates. And before we start, I want to mention that I trade some cryptos and I do it with Forex.com. It is an amazing broker that supports an even more amazing initiative because for every lot that you trade, they plant 10 trees. Okay, so I really think that's an amazing initiative, and it kind of makes you pay the commission with a little bit more acceptance, right? So make sure to check them out. Link will be down in the description. Check all the links as well in the description. And if you already did, let's head into the analysis. Alright, as always, let's start with a Dixie to potentially try to figure out where is the dollar headed. And again, as you can see, it's been absolutely hard to determine a bias on the DXY because again, I keep telling you that we're really starting to compress in this sort of range, and we're having this sort of a wedge or a flag formation or whatever you like to call it. And usually we can expect a breakout in either direction, so we can have a downwards move potentially to retest this higher low, or we can start moving higher to potentially kind of pull back into this big leg, because again, if I drop on the monthly, this is a big leg down, and maybe the market wants to fill all that empty space that is right there. So again, this is really long-term analysis, but again, we really try to figure out what is happening right now. And as I keep repeating, the market has really failed to break higher lows on the weekly. Okay, we even broke above this one and we actually closed above it, which is pretty important. Then this became our kind of major higher low, although a lot of people can argue with me that this one right here was a major higher low, because then we broke it. And right now we have pulled back all the way up. And if I just drop to the daily, and of course my levels are going to disappear. Why do you do this, guys? Okay, let's set them up very quickly like this. And yes, so let's jump to the daily. You can see that this really makes sense. This is a very strong demand area right there. It's a higher low on the weekly, but then we just have that little guy right there that makes a lot of the confusion, because we had a push, pullback, higher low, higher high, pullback. It attempted to create a new higher low. You can see how it tried to push up, then it failed. It came again into this demand level. It tried to push, it faked, it tried to push again, but then we just smashed through it. Okay, so that indicates that this one has failed, but does that mean that this is a reversal point? Well, not really. I would have really loved to see actually a break of 91,800 to potentially start calling the shorts. And right now what we actually have is, if you think that this is a break of structure right there, then the origin of that break is this. Currently it's just a high. Okay, it's not a higher low or a higher high, it's just a high. So we can have, for example, something like this. We can have a push, a pullback, and right now the market can potentially continue going lower. Okay, so that is one of the potential scenarios. But again, I do not really want to call this until we clearly see that the market is going to reverse, because for me, it is still bullish in this overall bullish kind of market structure. And I would actually expect maybe for us to break above 93,800 and continue to the upside. In terms of the daily, we had the markets opening right here. We basically faked up, down, up, down, up. So we did nothing interesting this week. And again, I really like this little level right there, because this is a level that actually broke above that little structure right there and initiated a lot of momentum. And maybe another thing that we could have is maybe a little pullback, higher low creation, and then a potential continuation up. Okay, so as you can see, I'm giving you so many scenarios on the DXY, which I really don't like. And at that moment, it's really important for you to really flow with the market and just try to read and see what it actually does. Okay. So currently my most important levels are actually this one, to really see if the market is going to resist from it and if it's going to start creating a downtrend from it. And then we have this little demand that is kind of from the daily. I consider this to be a daily higher low formation. And yes, just basically observing how the market is going to develop between those two levels in the upcoming week. Okay. Right now, in terms of the most recent price, like we created a high, we created a pullback, higher low formation, then we had FOMC, fake down, fake up, then we had a push to the downside. That kind of didn't really close below this one. Then we had a pullback all the way up that kind of tapped into this one. So if we potentially can have a move down to break this structure, then we can take a short into this level. And then from there, I'm going to readjust and see if we can catch any longs, or if this one actually breaks, then I will turn short bias. Okay. So very kind of vague analysis, this one, but again, very important for me is to see how the market is going to react from those levels and to really just wait for Monday to develop and to see where the overall momentum is going. But overall, just to say, I am overall bullish on the DXY, which means bearish on Euro. So let's have a look at Euro. Let's spend a little time on Euro USD, because the DXY mostly consists of the Euro, and basically the price action on Euro is going to determine also whether the DXY goes bullish or bearish. Okay. So again, do not marry any biases, because currently we do not have a clear bias. So it's all about time to actually see what is going to happen. Again, very brief breakdown right here. Higher high, pullback, higher low formation, then the market pushes up, fails to make a new high, basically creating the MSS formation, which is market structure shift. We push to the downside, we break the low, which is very nice to see, because this could actually be a lower low, okay? And then usually what we would expect the market is to pull back into the highs around 50% FIP and then to potentially continue lower, okay? But what do we have is the market starting to create again this sort of compressed price action, but still going to the downside in a downtrend, okay? Because again, as I told you, this one right there was the last weekly lower high. The market perfectly tested, actually just faked it by 3 pipettes, I think. And then we started heading lower, but then again, very similarly to the DXY, we're having right now the same problem. Okay, we have this little substructure, which a lot of you can argue that it's a major one, and I am also doubting on it, guys. So do not yell at me. I still try to figure out what that is, okay? Because it really kind of messes up the complete analysis. Because if you believe that this is the major one, then we should be keeping shorting. But then if you believe that this was the major one, then after this break, this right here is just a reaction point, then for the market to pull back, to create a higher low formation and to pump up. And as you can see, currently we are also tapping inside this major higher low formation, okay? Or just demand that actually broke structure into the highs and initiated this very strong bullish leg. And look at the reaction. So first of all, we just tapped very briefly inside. We had a little reaction. So there were buyers coming in on Monday. Then Tuesday created a pullback. And then Wednesday, we actually basically had the FOMC move. But then on Thursday, you can see the reaction from there. Right here, we had a very strong bullish candle. And then basically on Friday, we're having an inside bar, which is really important, because what we should do is just mark the high of the mother candle and the low as well. And one of them should get broken. And what makes more sense to me is to get it broken to the upside. So if EU actually goes bullish, then the DXY should go bearish. Okay, so this is why I do not listen entirely to my DXY analysis, because we can have, again, a resistance from that supply and just a flush down. So as you can see, EU on the daily, it does look a bit bullish, doesn't it? But then again, the question is that we do not have yet the 4-hourly structure change. Okay, so as you can see, the market went from a perfectly bullish to a perfectly bearish. And then again, all of those levels right there on the left became just little reactions. Like again, you can look for a long from here, the market gives you a pullback, flushes. You can look for a long from here, the market gives you pullback, flushes, long from there, pullback, flush. The same story repeats. Okay, so basically we filled all of that empty space right there, and we have come all the way down to the extremes. Okay, and if we just zoom in on the 4-hourly to observe a little bit, we can see that we had this as a high. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna keep this, but we have this as a high, then this one made a lower low, and then all the way up we did not break it. So on Friday, by the way guys, if you're watching this, I started posting some little reviews because EU is my main pair. So basically I post some trades from time to time right here. Like you can see like what I'm going to be looking for the day ahead. So that will be really nice if you go and check out some, yeah, more value for you. But yes, basically what I did the mistake on Friday is that I did not actually count this as my major structure. And I was like, okay, we're having a lot of momentum coming in, so I would love to look for a pullback and a continuation. Of course, I didn't get an entry, but the market just flushed to the downside. And as you can see right now, it is still bearish. This high is not broken. This is a pullback. So maybe after this pullback, if then we have a break, then I'm going bullish. Okay, then I'm going bullish because this was just an accumulation period, and then we should go bullish, and the potential the market is just going to respond from this level, pullback, higher low, push, respond from that level, pullback, push, respond from that level right there, pullback, and then we can have it all the way up like this. Okay, so very, very, very crucial on EU for next week is to observe and to wait for a 4-hourly shift. Okay, so if the market continues going lower and breaking below this low right there, perfect, bearish, look for shorts. But let's see how let's see how just it's gonna kind of develop between those two lines, which is the daily mother candle of this inside bar. So this is basically it, guys. Again, make sure to stay tuned for the Tuesday analysis where I'm going to go in detail again to have a look what could happen. And right now I want to spend a little time. I'm not going to really go into details regarding my trades, but I just want you to show you like the lesson that I learned this week. So I'm not really going to do a great top-down analysis or anything, but basically we have the levels and an overall development of this week. So let me show you what I did on Monday and Tuesday. So on Monday, again, the market pushed lower into that big zone, which is the daily. I observed that the market was trying to push up, so I looked for an entry. And according to my rules, this is my entry. This is my zone where I want to enter. This is the one that broke structure as well. So I really didn't consider this as a potential area. So I took my trade from right here, and it gave me a beautiful reaction to the upside, and then it went very slowly down to stop loss. And then my biggest mistake, as you're going to see with the other trades, is that I do not persist and I do not continue looking for longs. So basically after this stop loss, then I just like stood up from the screen and I did not look anymore. And what happens later is, oops, not text, is the market creates this lower high, lower low. It breaks this lower high, right? So basically, where is the higher low formation? It's this one that broke structure. Pull back, there is your long. Okay, the market pushes up, pulls back, higher low, big push up, creates the higher high. Where is your major higher low? It's this one. There is your trade. Okay, then we continue even further. Where is your major higher low? Well, it should be this one, because this one kind of faked below, broke structure up. It wasn't retested by these ones, and then we pushed up, we went all the way back down, and then basically there's your other trade right there. And basically what I did is I took a loss right here, and then I missed actually my targets, which I don't remember what it was. It was something on the 15-minute right there. So this is my Monday. As you can see, a loss, and then all of those missed setups that I did not execute on. Tuesday, kind of the same. So if I just, where's Tuesday? No, Tuesday was kind of a bad break-even day. And if you can see, so basically we had the Asian range, the market pushed up, but then we manipulated down, which is what I looked for. I even rushed in to get a little bit too early just because of that level. Because again, in terms of market structure, this one was a push up that broke structure. So for me, that was the major higher low, and I follow my plan. Okay. And then my next target was this one. I also have this, I think, I shared this one. The Thursday. Yeah, I did share this one, possibly. I'm really not sure. No, this is another one. But yeah, check it out. And yes, so basically I rushed in to enter into a long. And basically right here, I learned from my mistake. So the first trade I executed was right here. It gave me a beautiful reaction right there, but then failed to follow through. It failed to make a new high, then pulled back, then tried to push up, managed my stop loss, and then got stopped out for very little loss. I also cut 50% right here after seeing that it fails to break higher. And then we continue lower and tap into this level. What I do is I just observe market structure. Lower, lower low, lower high, lower low, push, break of the lower high. There is the origin of that break. I enter from right here. Stop loss below 2.4 pips. Then the market pushes up, starts to roll, and I'm like, oh man, this really looks bearish right now. And I was emotional. This is why I got inspired to create that break-even video. So I hope you've checked that out. And I went break-even, so this one stopped me out, and then actually rushed all the way into my full hourly targets, which were somewhere right here. I think it was 8R, my target. And then again, we had a lot of other setups to take. Okay, there is another one that I didn't take, and some other ones right here for potential longs. And then we got into the highs. We had the liquidity grab. We have a push break of structure. Then I wasn't at the charts to take that trade, but I was at the charts to take this one. Okay, but what happened is then I spotted, okay, the market failed to break lower, so that could be a reversal. So I didn't execute on this one, and guess what? It went to targets, which was this low. Okay, so how do I finish Tuesday? With a very slight loss and a break even. You can see that it's not going too well. And I was kind of unfocused as well because I'm also at university right now. It's starting to take a little bit more time, but that is, of course, not an excuse. And then Wednesday was basically the FOMC day. So I only traded during London. And what happened again is, about not going into great details, we're having the market push up, we make this high, we pull back, we start failing to break below demand, we start failing to hold demand, then we actually push lower. No, basically my entry was taken a little bit earlier than that. Basically, I observed this strong push into the highs and this strong reaction from it, then this pullback and how the pullback could not sustain, and then we actually broke below this one. So that was my reason for the entry, and that was my candle that I entered from. So I executed from here. Pretty nice, almost zero drawdown trade, 1.8 pip stop loss. And yeah, it just pushed down. I went break even because this time the rules ticked. And then again, what I do is I just don't trade anymore. And guess what? The short develops. We go down. But again, if I'm completely honest, none of those would have hit targets because I target like at least 1 to 5, let's say, or this would have been my target, but it actually didn't hit. And then, yeah, I didn't look too much at that mess. But we had some people taking a short from here, which was a great level on the left right there that we observed from yesterday. And then basically we had all of that mess. And yeah, then I think on Thursday, did I have anything on Thursday? Was it another break-even trade? No, on Thursday I had a loss as well. And basically I was looking for longs on that day. And then I thought, okay, let me take a short into the long, because then I was looking for longs from here. So I took a short from right here. I got stopped very badly. The market then created a higher high. Then it started actually pushing down. But where I am when the market is developing for the longs, well, I'm not on the charts. Again, this is also like 12 o'clock. This is when I do not trade. But then again, you can see at 2, I should be on the charts to be taking that long, but I wasn't. So another mistake. And then on Friday, I did not take any trades. So I just kind of rushed throughout this one, and hopefully you extracted something. Again, trading is all about focus, being focused on your pairs, knowing what you're looking for, and just persisting at it. Okay, so hopefully that was a good lesson. You saw my trades down a little bit, but of course next week we crush it with the newly learned lessons. Let's have a look at EJ, a very nice reaction right here. And basically what I really like is that I do think that yeah, it looks pretty equal. I have to check the OHLC stats right there, but we're having a very sharp push to the downside on the weekly, and then a very nice recovery up. Okay, so this is kind of good news because it really shows us that we might overall turn bullish. And yes, if we're really precise, I do think we just broke this one by a pipette or something. But then as you can see, why did I go to the hourly? But as you can see, like we started the week with a lot of bearishness right there, then we accumulated, and then we just all of a sudden started to very strongly push to the upside. And basically this one created a double bottom, and we are still overall bearish, okay? But again, Euro JPY, very important to look at UJ and at Euro as well. So this also gives us a little hint that maybe EU is actually gonna push up, okay? Because if EJ is getting the steam, and what we can see that although on the daily we do not have the break yet, 4 hourly created little head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders right there, with also a break of structure, which is a great head and shoulders. And as you can see that the neckline, yeah, this is not the neckline, but we're overall having that bullish change of structure, right? And then basically our very major lower high was this one, but we just reacted from it and we broke higher. Okay, so according to me on the 4 hourly, EJ is turning bullish. Okay, so potentially right now I do think we are gonna continue higher and potentially target those highs right here, which is 130,800. But first of all, I do believe that we should have also some sort of a pullback. So the area that makes a lot of sense for me is this one, because this basically created the major higher low since when we massively pumped into the highs. And then of course what you can do is you can grab it your range from the low when the market finds the high, and then what you should simply do is wait for the market to dip below 50%, find support, and then reverse and take a long. Okay, so very simple on the trade on very simple setup on EJ, just waiting for that little pullback and then to potentially target longs into the highs right there. If we ask where are the shorts, well, potentially the first short actually got invalidated. We're coming with a reversal from the downside. So I do think actually longs are more accurate right now. But of course, as I told you right here, which is a 4 hourly level and also a daily level right there, we can expect some shorts. So make sure to watch out for that and let's see how it's going to develop. But overall, long bias. Let's have a look at the Aussies. Well, Aussie USD, nothing too much this week. We had some nice bearish momentum, but as you can see, overall, the weekly candle is an indecision, okay? So again, just to build the story a little bit, we're coming from this very strong weekly demand. We pushed to the upside, we broke weekly structure, and right now we are pulling back below the 50%, which is an ideal area to start looking for longs. On the daily time frame, we had a strong push into the highs, and a little tip that I would give you is to measure how long it took for the market to pump up, which is 14 days, and right now it's taking the market, yeah, 16 days, a little bit more. Of course, we count the weekends, maybe there is a weekend right there, but we can clearly see that the push to the upside is much stronger than the push to the downside, okay? That means that overall we are pretty bearish. The market came to something inside this wick and actually faked a little bit below it, and then we saw the reaction, but according to me, is it really ready? I don't know. We shall see into the... Why do they keep disappearing? We shall see in the next week. So let me maybe drop again this level right there, just to have it, because yeah, as you can see, like I really don't like this triple bottom right there. It's really flat, and although we then broke above it, we still respected this sort of lower high right here. And yes, so again, minor and major structure. Is this major structure? Yes. Why? Because it made the lower low. It broke this structure, made a lower low. Is this a major structure? No, because it didn't do anything. We just pulled back, it created a lower high potential, but then it didn't continue lower to make a low, okay? We faked it. Is this a major? No, because it didn't make anything. And then we actually pulled back into the major one. We can even take the candle like this, and this is where your short comes in. And this is when you should actually target the lows right there, okay? So of course, AU, as you can see, it is not ready yet to push up. So do not go all in on longs and just wait for a better confirmation, which will be really a break of, really a failure to break below and then a break of structure above. Okay, so let's say that this demand holds again and then we have a break of structure above this high, then yes, this is a confirmed higher high, and then we should just continue to trade the market up. But I do think maybe we can have a little bit of a move down towards the lower levels right there. Maybe this little guy right there, this little pause in price could act as another very strong demand. And also what I really don't like is how these flat lows are looking like. They're like really round, so I would really love to see maybe something like this, a push down, then a break of structure. So if this pushes down and breaks structure, we're gonna have major structure right there. So let's say like this, then this becomes our major lower high. And then if we have a break of that major lower high, retest, that is when we go all in for longs. Okay, so this is my thought process on AU. I still determine this market as a bearish market. Okay, we might have some little signs right now for potential reversal, but for me, this is not a reversal until we have a higher high right here. So basically the short you could have taken from here, a lovely short. Even you can see we have an hourly level, we have an hourly change of structure. If you drop to the 15, you also have a lovely trade right there. So right now, let's see how the market is going to develop around these areas right there. And let's see if it's actually going to come lower a little bit and then change the structure to bullish. Until then, we'll look for shorts, and a potential short could be just a little pullback above, lower high, and then a dump lower. So that is my outlook on AU. And AJ, this is actually interesting right here. Because on the weekly, again, we had the same, like we have this little level right there, although it's like a blue candle, it doesn't matter. We tapped inside, we pushed up, we broke structure, we're already deep below the 50%, and we already see the reaction. Again, they disappear. In terms of the daily, we almost come into the daily level, because this is basically the morning star formation that we have right here. This is where the momentum kicked in, and this is when we actually broke the high. Okay, so we pulled back really deep on this one. And if I go to observe the 4 hourly, we can see that something like EJ, we are having that shift. Okay, why? Because is this a major lower high? Yes, it is. Why? Because it made a low. Okay, there is the low. We broke this low and we made a new lower low. The market pulls back, reacts from it, tries to push lower, fails, and then we impulse into the highs. And also this kind of major lower high was also invalidated. So that is pretty important, because on AJ, it looks like it's already ready. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is drop my range from the low to the high. Potentially, I would love to trade from this sort of levels right here, this sort of range. Then we initiated very strongly outside of the range. So what I'm going to be looking for AJ is for it to tap right here, then change structure in the lower time frame, and then to look for longs. Okay, and if this one is suggesting that we can potentially head higher, then maybe AU is going to also head higher. But as you can see, this one needs a little bit more time. This is a major pair, which means that it's manipulated a little bit more. So I will definitely expect that fake to the downside, and then potentially to see a shift of structure. And then of course, AJ is also gonna follow. So let's see, very interesting opportunities aligning. All it needs is time and some great confirmation. Very similar situation on the NZDs. Again, we're having this very strong weekly push, and right now we are in this pullback. Have a look. 2 very strong bullish candles on the weekly, and then right now 3 very weak pullback candles. Okay, so that really suggests that the momentum to the upside is much stronger than the one to the downside. Potentially 2 levels to look at. There is the first and there is the second that actually got faked below. We had a beautiful reaction right there, but again, you can see that it fails to follow through, and we're having a strong, why do they keep disappearing? A strong move to the downside. Why doesn't that save like this? I'm doing this for the second time. And yes, so right now, let's drop to the 4 hourly time frame. As you can see on this one, unlike AU, and this sometimes it's tricky because right here we actually have a lower low. Okay, so that turns this into our major structure, and this major structure was broken. Okay, so that is really interesting because right now this is our major higher low formation. Okay, so again, try to be flexible and maybe on AU, this is a push that broke structure, okay? And potentially we might just respond from that little guy right there and reverse into the highs, okay? So we might not have the short because as you can see, NU, it's pretty much correlated to AU, and we're already having that long setup. The first kind of resistance or supply that I see has failed, which indicates that buyers right now are in control, okay? So let's see on NU if we're actually going to respond from that level right there, or are we going to flush it a little bit lower and then just have that formation that I spoke about on AU. Okay, so right now what I'm going to advise you to do is monitor the lower time frames right here to see how it's going to respond. Follow the structure. Where is your major lower high? It's right here. Is it broken? No. When do I trade? When it's broken. Simple. Okay, lower high, lower low, pullback, equal lower high, push to the downside, first signs of a failure. But this, of course, is Friday price action, so do not trust this one too much. I would love to see a bigger dip inside, accumulation, push, break, a structure retest, and then a potential continuation higher. So again, we can see that overall bullish bias on everything, which means that the DXY could actually be bearish. It would be lovely to see. And as you can see, NJ as well, overall head and shoulders on the 4 hourly time frame, that was the major lower high. It was retested and then broken, which is really good to see. This is the overall zone that broke. There is also another break of structure, very sharp impulse. Actually, the move originates from here. So there is your setup, guys. As you can see, just for a couple of seconds, we broke down the perfect setup. Take shorts right here, ride it into the lows right there, then take longs and target new highs. This is the plan for me. How does the hourly look like? Can we take a short? Could be. If we have a little pullback and if we really see a failure to continue higher, then we can definitely do. Right now, the market is responding from that very strong level on the hourly. Of course, guys, I'm just breaking down like 4 hourly daily. It's more like a long term, but there is a lot that goes on the hourly and 15-minute. And I do this every day for the community, of course. Yes, overall bullish outlook on the NZDs, which makes me think that the AUDs are even bullish, which means that the Euro is bullish and the DXY should be bearish. So let's see, very interesting opportunities aligning, and yeah, waiting for this setup to play out. All right, UJ is finally on the move, and I do believe that I was actually calling the longs on this one, but again, I'm not really monitoring UJ very closely, especially in the past couple of weeks right there. But what we can see is a lot of momentum to the upsides, and again, after all of that consolidation right there, like you can see, again, what I kept telling you, I remember right now, is that we had a lower low, then actually the market broke it right here, we pull back, this was the shift, and then it was just consolidating, and I was expecting maybe a little sell-off and then a big buy, okay? So pretty much we're changing to bullish, and this is why, guys, on EJ, AJ, and NJ, you are seeing that bullish pressure. A bullish USD JPY does not speak a lot, well, about the bearish DXY that we would expect. That would be a great confluence. But of course, we can see that overall, right now we're having a break of structure, which means that we're overall bullish. And yeah, as you can see, the flaw was actually moving pretty nicely to the downside. Like we had this lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Actually, there are some opportunities to take on UJ. Wow, I didn't spot that. You can see how nicely it moves down. And then actually, there is a very nice lower high because it broke the structure, and then we just invalidated, and then we massively pumped into the highs. Okay, so definitely for this one, I will be looking for a pullback. Okay, so where to? Well, potentially into this area, or maybe a little bit higher than that. It doesn't matter. Just drop your FIP from the low to the high when the high is actually formed. So wait for the high to form and for the market to start pulling back. And then my plan will be to just wait for a pullback and a potential continuation. Okay, so very nice to see UJ finally moving, which is bringing a lot of steam into the JPYs as well, so they can also finally start moving. So right now it's really important to actually see if this price will actually sustain, if this bullish price action is going to sustain, because this is the first higher high in a while. Like since all of that madness right there, we went a little bit bullish, we went a little bit bearish. Right now a massive impulse into the highs. So I'm really looking forward to actually have something like this. So let's see how it's going to play out. Overall bullish outlook on UJ. That is going to be really nice for the other JPY pairs. Let's have a look at the British gang starting from GU. So overall, again, this one, the direction on this one is really hard to figure out, and I still don't know where this one is going. Okay, in terms of weekly, maybe we can drop on the monthly and just see that we are in a very big push right here. And if we just like start breaking bearish structure, I do think this one can come all the way down right there. Okay, so that is some really interesting things happening right here, because again, let's follow up just on the most recent price. We had again this break, higher high, pullback, higher low. Very nice. We should be expecting a new high, but the market did not make it. As you can see, it really struggled to pull back. It consolidated right there for a long time. And right now we're making the move down, which is basically for me bearish structure. Okay. And actually, if we really fail to hold right there, that means that GU turns bearish, and that means that we're gonna come and retest all of those levels right there and maybe even take them out and come into the extremes down there. Okay. Not something that I expect happening, but really just looking at it, it's failing to cause a bullish break somewhere. But of course, that could be it right here. So we reacted from this one, we came all the way back down, we tried to push, we failed to break, we come all the way back down again. Right now we try to push, so if we sustain that push from this daily candle, it's good. But if we break below this one, then I do think that is gonna expose a lot of downside. Okay. Because yeah, as you can see, like we had this very strong high, the market just wicked above it, and then since then we actually broke. And if you have a look at which is the structure that made this high, it's this one. And this structure actually got broken. Okay, so basically right now the range that we were trading inside was this one. The market pushed lower, pulled back above 50%, and right now we should actually be expecting a lower low. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of ways to look into it, and that is why trading is unique. You just have to look at it from your own perspective and really listen to your own analysis. Dropping onto the 4-hourly time frame again, you can see massive pressure right there. And basically this week was not a very good week for GU. I'm not trading GU too much, especially right now, because yeah, we just opened right there, 20th of September, range, push down, up, down, big push up, okay? So yeah, we can say that this big push up actually broke major structure, because that one was major because it's a lower high that later caused a lower low. We retested it. We again made a lower low almost, and then we actually very strongly broke above it. And right now we are in this pullback stage. Okay, so very tricky situation for GU. I was also looking at that level right there for potential reaction, but it didn't reach. So right now we are really stuck between an overall daily support, daily demand, an overall market trying to push up, but also an overall market that has a lot of sell sentiment. Because if you also had a look at it, like from right here, we changed, push, pull back, then the market respected this, push, we failed to break, but then the market is still respecting the bearishness, and then it's still respecting the bullishness. So really coming into this sort of compression, and it's really interesting right now what is gonna happen. Okay, so again guys, as I always tell you, flow with the market. What is it showing us to us right now? Well, it's showing more bullishness than bearishness, because we had a massive pump up that broke the high, and basically you can start monitoring for longs anywhere around this area, which is not very clear for me. Like since we tapped into this one, yeah, this is the overall candle that created like the base, and then we pushed up. So if the market comes in right here, drop to the lower time frame, see what you could have, if you can have any potential longs, and then if actually this holds, the first target will be a new high. And then if this actually happens, then we can respond from this one, pull back, push, respond, pull back, and then we can go all the way up. Okay, and maybe have that weekly pullback into these highs right here. Okay, so this is my plan on GU, which is pretty vague again, but as I keep telling you, all the pairs are in a very crucial situation. Q3 is actually going to open, monthly candles are going to close, quarterly candles are going to close. So again, it's just right now cooking and deciding on the direction to take. So stay focused. GJ, oh, I still have my analysis. Well, yeah, it's pretty much the same. Bearish flow being respected, push to the downside, failing to break again, push to the downside, and right here on GJ, we just have a little sweep down there, but it's still bearish. It's still bearish. And as you can see, yeah, this is possibly something from a hard time frame. I was spotted this range push. We actually found a new one right there. And yeah, right now we are really deeply pulled back into that range, and potentially the market is reacting from this one. So what we could expect right here is a pullback. Okay, looking at this big bullish pressure, we can say that we're reversing up. So if you pull back, find maybe a higher low right there, then that will be really nice to trade for potential long setup. And again, if we try to find a level, well, something like this will be a potential area. And that of course would mean that the supply is gonna fail to make a new lower low like that, because it's gonna create this, and then we should actually target the highs right there. If we smash through this one, perfect, then look for the pullback and a continuation. So those are the two setups that I'm going to be looking for on GJ. GA, I don't trade this pair. I don't understand what this one is doing. Again, I think I had this major level right there that broke structure. We have this consolidation. We pushed into the lows. We reacted very strongly. We failed to follow through to the upside. We basically made a lower low. And then basically right now the major lower high, it's this one. We pulled back into it. And right now it looks like we're headed lower. Okay, so there is your overall analysis on GA, which looks more bearish than bullish to me. How can you engage in this one? Well, you should be waiting for a pullback. And to be honest, is the 4 hourly really shifting down? Yeah, it looks like, because we had from here this push down, pullback, lower high, lower low. That actually created the lower low. But then you can argue if this one was your major one that actually got broken. So we can right now have a pullback and a retest of this structure. But this is really getting into too much details. Okay. Overall, I consider this one to be overall bearish. Maybe we can back it up with some daily analysis. Can we? Yeah. On the daily, we had this consolidation. We had a push up and a very strong pump to the downside. So basically, we're trading within that range. And the market pulled back into 50%. Pull back into this little guy right there, just faked above it. And right now, if this move on the daily is gonna sustain, we should be expecting a lower low. Okay, so let's see. Having an overall bearish outlook on GA, but I do not trade GA, so do not listen to me regarding it. Oh, I have analysis right here as well. Why haven't I deleted them? But yeah, Euro GBP, it's basically pretty nice to see. Because we're having some action right here. Again, we had this overall daily push. We pulled back into the daily demand below 50%. We were responding from this. Then we had this very strong push as well from the previous week. And what I said is that I would love to see a pullback into it. And this actually happened, but in a different fashion. So we first pushed into the highs to create a low. Then we went all the way back down. And right now we are actually responding from that level, which is really good to see. But then the other detail is that on the way down, the market turned a little bit bearish. So what is going to happen right now is we're going to have a battle between supply and demand. So yeah, we responded from demand, but as you can see, the market should be headed for a higher high right now, but we have a big push down and a very corrective push up. So what could happen is we can have a reaction on this one, and it really depends if this reaction from right here is gonna make a low. Okay, because if it doesn't make a low, if it just pulls back like this, creates a higher low, pushes up, then yes, then I can go all in for bulls, for longs. But right now it's not ready yet. Okay, so stay mindful. We are having the bullish overall, the bullish flow, okay, but it's not ready yet. So let's see how it's going to respond from here. I would expect a little reaction, but then it's all about that reaction. And if this reaction is actually going to be a lower low, so then we should start looking for shorts, or if it's going to create a higher low, and then potentially we should start looking for longs. Okay, so this is my outlook on the GBPs. Again, as you can see on the majority of the pairs right now, it's really hard to figure out the overall direction. So according to me, right now, we're actually going to have that phenomenon where we're going to have an actual direction as Q4 is going to open, and then we can potentially start capitalizing on some trending markets. So let's see. Let's have a look at gold, which is having a pretty interesting development. So we had a very sharp wick into the high. So right now we are pushing down. On the daily time frame, again, as I told you, like we had this compression, the market failed to break above this high. Then we actually broke daily structure, pull back lower high, and a very sharp lower low, which really introduced the sellers. And as you can see, I was expecting an overall short to pull back into this overall range right there. So we did not entirely reach it, but still we had a pullback above the 50%, and we responded from right here. And then again, we can count this one as manipulation. The market pushed lower, broke structure on the hourly potentially, and there is a retest. So that was a very lovely long short right there to be taken. So hope some of you that are gold, I see a lot of people are actually trading gold. So yeah, that would have actually been the trade of the week, a very nice short trade on gold. And right now we're actually kind of breaking or just faking below the low, which means that potentially we are just turning bearish right now, because this little demand was just a response, but it did not follow through. So right now I would say that we can potentially start looking for the shorts, okay, because the market is shifting down. Where from? Yeah, potentially I'm really interested in that wick, because there is always something inside the wicks if you drop to lower time frame. But basically this push to the upside, this is our lower high. So if the market actually starts pulling back towards that lower high, then I will be interested to look for shorts. Very simple, short bias on gold. Let me know what you guys think about it. I do think that we can head lower, because really after this failure to break higher and then shifting the structure down, I do believe we're actually going to be targeting the lows right there. And not to say that we might actually even attack this big wick right there, because again, as I told you, there is always something within wicks, and we can maybe even come around 1700s. So let's see, overall short outlook. Let's see how it plays. Let's have a look at some indices and cryptos. So we are having that very nice crash right there, a lovely buying opportunity. So right now the biggest question is, was this just a flash crash in order for the market? Well, not a flash crash, because it's not a crash. I'm speaking BS right now, but it's just a pullback, okay, correction. So according to me, like the extreme was this one right there. So we basically tapped into this overall big sell that initiated the buy. We had a few sell-offs right there, and basically again on the 20th of September we had the low created, and since then we started pushing up. So right now it's very important for me is to start seeing full hourly structure fail. And basically right here, from right there, we're having the overall shift of market structure, break of it, and overall the supply that is right now on the left, which is this one, is just going to be reaction points for the market to pull back, create a higher low, and then to potentially pump up. So I'm starting to shift my bias to longs right now. Potentially we should be creating new all-time highs maybe in the upcoming weeks, but it really depends, as we're having a lot of earnings reports right now incoming as well. So that really depends on the companies, but hopefully. Again, you can see previous month, yeah, this was actually July. We again had a little dip on the 20th, around 20th to 19th. Same story repeats right here. So let's hope that we're going to have new all-time highs in the upcoming days. Also, NASDAQ had a lovely drop all the way down into this extreme, all the way down into very extreme Fibonacci levels. And overall, again, same shift. I can see that we have a very little supply right there that the market responded to, but it looks like that it's overall failing to hold. So yeah, I can say that overall we might be about to reverse. I mean, to continue in the overall bullish trend. Potential levels to look at right now is just to try to identify the range from the low to the high that initiated the move higher and also broke structure. So anything below 50% right here could be a potential buy opportunity. So again, yeah, looking to change into the highs. But again, if you want more confirmation, I would suggest that you maybe wait for one more higher high in order to really confirm that we are about to go higher. S&P 500, I am all in on this one. That has been a thing that I've waited for a very long time. So I am long on S&P from down there. But yeah, I'm just invested in the asset, not really long right there with 10 lots. I don't do this. I'm just building my way to financial freedom with this sort of stuffs right there, because I do think that is actually the real vehicle that is gonna achieve that. Trading is more like a speculative investment. But yes, overall, very nice dip. This is a really very good dip as well. I think it was around 5%. This is where you really should be buying, and you should be putting more money into it, because again, 2% is it's good to just put in, to just dollar cost average, but 5% is really when you should be putting all of your savings into that asset. Okay, 4-hourly time frame already starting to shift. Again, a very nice shift of market structure right there. Break, failure of supply, starting to see failure of supply. Right now we are into the major supply, reacted, but it looks like we're already building the bullish flow. So really excited to see if we're actually going to continue and start making new highs. I also bought another very interesting ETF. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's also at zero drawdown, like something like this from the bottom. So pretty excited to see actually how the indices and how the overall stock market is going to go right now. I do think the Evergrande crisis was maybe the cause for that flush. And of course, everything is engineered in order to give the market a little bit of a correction in order for it later to recover. Bitcoin, very nice drop into 40K right here. I bought Ethereum, I didn't buy Bitcoin, but yeah, possibly looking to scale into it as well, because it's been pretty nice right there. So we had China also marking the crypto activity as illegal. That caused this massive dip to the downside, but as you can see, nobody cares. The market, this was just a pullback to retest again the lows right there, to buy even further from around the below 4 into the 40K region. And right now it looks like we are already reversing into the highs. So for me, it will be pretty important to see how the market is going to respond from that little supply right there. And to just see if it's actually just going to respond from it, pull back, and then potentially continue higher. Because if we have this, then potentially we can be targeting even the highs. Okay, so very important positioning right now of Bitcoin. There are a lot of bears as well that would expect maybe even a break of those lows right there, so we can head into below 30K region. That is absolutely possible, of course, but with Bitcoin, you absolutely never know. So again, be careful with those investments right there. But yeah, overall, really looking to see how the longs are going to play out from here, and if we're going to continue with the bullish flow. And yeah, Ethereum, I think I bought it around 290. Yeah, I was feeling FOMO that I didn't catch it from the bottom, but yeah, I've bought it somewhere right here from that wick or something right there, 290 I think. And yeah, right now it's still kind of ranging. I should be updating my analysis on this one. I think I have it on another chart or something. But yes, looking to see how it's gonna react from right here. Basically, that is the level that I was looking at, this overall base push. Supply failed, high. Right now pulling back, and if you drop the FIP from the low to the high, this is exactly below 50%. So really looking to see how supply is gonna start failing. We already have a little break. So it's really important actually for me this to print as a shift, to have a new high right there, and then potentially we can start looking for the longs. Okay, so this is the outlook. Cryptos and stocks are looking bullish. Let's see, of course, we have to follow up how the economies are gonna do and all the news that are happening right now. A lot of people are calling crashes, which is usually pretty good, because if there is a lot of news on crashes, usually a boom is incoming, right? So that is pretty good to not listen to the crowd. And yeah, guys, this is how I'm gonna wrap up this video. Hopefully you extracted something from it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe as well, and leave a comment below. I always love seeing your comments. The more I see, the more motivated I am to continue creating more. And yes, I wish you an amazing weekend if you're watching this during the weekend, and I wish you a crushing week into the upcoming one.